Okay, and we're back again. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us in our first event for our educational or EduCast International Association. SIGS, this is Mo or Mohammed Nabil, uh, the founder of EduCast International Association. And right now, I'm joined by two of wonderful members of our SIGS. They are the coordinators of uh, the learning technologies SIG. And today they are going to talk about something really important in the field of technology in education. Actually, it's about artificial intelligence in education. So I'm joined by Titiana and Hibatullah Mursi. Hiba is joining us from Egypt and Titiana from Ireland, as I guess. So please let's welcome them. Yeah, and can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, that's great. Nice to see you both.
Hello. Hi, Muhammad
Hello.
and Tatiana.
Hi there,
Hello.
guys.
Good to see you both. Okay, so I'm just gonna make you co-hosts. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Then yeah, so you can tell the people about yourselves and then you can start. So that is a co-host. Co-host, and here you go.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Right. So, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We would like to first introduce ourselves and our SIG, and let us share the screen as well while doing so. Okay. So. All right. So now I know that you see partially my
Yes,
screen.
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Tati. So, my name is Hibatullah Mursi, and I and Tatiana have met before actually during our diploma, the TESOL. And yeah, that's out of the way. We both have the TESOL. And we both enjoy using technology a lot actually in teaching and learning ourselves as well. I mean, professional development do require also using technology. So with the learning technology SIG, we hope and aspire to also share our knowledge and our experiences with everybody amongst our teachers, of course, to kind of spread the knowledge and facilitate things. And we would love to answer your questions as well. So, Tati, would you like to?
And yes, I would like to add one thing, because as far as you mentioned that we met during the deep, and we are leading, coordinating learning technology SIG, that I think that's worth mentioning that when we were doing the deep to solve, the COVID started, and you remember when COVID started, everybody went online. But the thing was that we were the first cohort that had to do the teaching practice online and be assessed by the examinators, by Trinity, and so on and so forth. So that was a really steep learning curve for us. We had to learn, like basically overnight, like most of us had to do. But that was, like our diploma that we were thinking about. That's why I think that was one of the reasons why we got so interested in technologies, because we're working together at that moment. We explore different possibilities at the moment. And we really think that technology can actually aid education rather than hinder it or whatever. And I know that some people, yeah, okay. And that's it at this moment. Thanks.
That's great. That's great. Yes, I totally agree. And actually thinking fast is and I'm not saying improvising per se, but like thinking fast and thinking on your feet is one skill that you need to develop as a teacher. And using technology during COVID, that was one of the things that you also had to learn while thinking fast in order to provide the same quality of learning to your students. So yes, that was the reason why we were interested in technology, and we would love if you also are interested as much as we do. We are. Thank you. So today we are gonna talk about teaching using AI because it's a trendy topic. I mean, everybody talks about AI right now and how it's gonna change our lives, basically. So if it's gonna change like most fields, like medicine, it's gonna change engineering. I mean, maybe in the future robots would do the building like under the heat or under the stupid weather conditions. But
They definitely will.
uh, so why not education? I mean, why not aid us in delivering quality education and also making it easier for the students to focus on the critical thinking skills while getting the computers to help. So
And actually, that's an interesting point that you raised there, like critical thinking skills. And now we live in the age of technology advancement. And a student that is in our classroom at the moment, it's not on the person who is getting like language instruction, but we also educating a digital individual or digital learners. So we are teaching them how to survive in this environment because they have to use technology everywhere. Wherever they go, it's basically it's technology that they have to use. That's why I think that is what we also need to understand, that nowadays it's also digital learning, which is embedded in language instruction.
True, very true. Yes, absolutely. And almost even books. I mean, the publishing industry has replaced physical books with online books. So just using that on its own is a skill that students like require to have also are required to have. Okay. So
Before we move on,
mhm.
Habs, I have a question to you. What I've noticed, people they have different opposing points of view on AI,
Mhm.
and is using an AI and using AI for education. One cohort of people thinks that it's a tool that we can use, like these are us basically, that we can use to our benefit, and that if we learn how to use it, we can actually achieve a lot. Another cohort thinks that AI will lead to humans extinction, so that
Yeah.
with time it will take over the world. So what do you think of it? What do you have to say to those people who think that AI will lead to human extinction?
Well, to be honest, I was skeptical at the beginning as well. I mean, maybe I watched
Ah.
a lot of videos, but because I love technology and I know that, I mean, humans have the brains and the capacity to create these things. So also we have the brain and the capacity to limit, like I'm not gonna say their power, but we are teaching AI and feeding it with the rules. So we're still in control of what we will allow with AI and what we need or how to use it even. That's why we need to be aware of how to use such technology and learn to master, I'm not gonna say like master controlling it, but master using it for our benefit. We make it work for us, not vice versa.
Oh, that's an interesting point. And you've mentioned that you were skeptical at the beginning. May I ask you why you were skeptical?
I'm not gonna just say the movies, but it's partially it because I know, I mean, everything, especially with the fast pace of AI learning about things. I mean, I watched a video explaining that AI now hires people to just go through the captcha question, which could be true. And again, I would say it benefits people financially, but I would say also that this is something that we created ourselves and this is something that we can manage ourselves.
Hmm.
And it's good to learn and be always ahead with such technology. That's why it's really important to learn how to use it.
Yeah, I do agree with you here because like we just have to adapt. There is no way back. It's already here and it will keep
Yes,
on evolving. So at this point, I think all of us as human race needs to do is just to learn how to use it and not let it take over the world because we've seen the movies.
true. Yeah. So, of course, in order to learn how to use it, we need to think about also the goal that we have from that. I mean, why do we use technologies in the classroom to begin with? Is it just to facilitate the learning, or is it to impress our students with their ability to use the digital tools? Because we know that the new generations use mobile phones like 24/7. They are on computers, perhaps playing video games. So what's the real purpose? What do you think about this, Tati?
What's the main purpose of AI, you mean, right?
Well,
I
generally, yes, yeah. How like we teach using AI. Why do we use it?
Again, I think that's connected to the previous notion that we've mentioned, that first of all, that is the future. It will eventually appear everywhere, and that's why that's nice to be aware of it. The second reason is that I believe that AI is actually making it more affordable for students to learn, because again, not all of the by saying students and learners, I don't mean only those who go to schools or courses and universities, but these are anyone who wants to learn a language. So with the help of an AI tool, they can actually learn language. And we've heard with you about such instances like how ChatGPT, for example, can help you work on your skills, how it can be the person you talk to, your communication body, basically. And it helps to make learning more affordable. That is number one. Number two, I think that AI opens new possibilities for us as education in general. Not only, I'm talking here not only about ESL, about general, because AI can be used not only for us as teachers in the classrooms, but it can be used to create the programs that will help learners to acquire the language. We know about such apps like Duolingo, Lingualair, and so on and so forth. Basically, most of them, they have AI embedded in the app. And what it does, it actually analyzes where students make mistakes and then feeds more tasks to the students where they can work on those mistakes and improve. So it actually makes the learning more personalized. I'm working not in general on something, but AI sees where I'm making mistakes and helping me to improve there. Again, if we talk about like before I move on to the next point, I still believe that teachers will stay as a profession and AI won't substitute us.
Yes.
But let's imagine the classroom where you have 15 students, or where you have 30 students, or where you have 50 students, and you cannot pay attention, like equally distribute your attention among all of them. And then there is this AI tool that feeds you the task that you need personally, and based on those mistakes that you make. So there is a difference. Even though I believe that teachers won't be substituted by AI. And
well, and that's why, yes, I also talked about the reason behind using AI. Like for example, thinking about the class. I mean, if I have a class of certain number of students and I'm thinking about the learning outcome, why I'm using a certain tool. So there are many tools that can help us actually in the classroom, and starting with planning the lesson. It's always brilliant for us to know what I want my students to get out of the class with. Am I teaching them how to speak in a certain point, or using a certain language point, or what's my purpose exactly? And accordingly, I would choose the tool that I'm using. So with the lesson planning tool, do you have any, Tati? Do you know about any?
Yeah? Yes, I do know. And I think that is the third reason that I for a second forgot about, but I wanted to mention, is that it does help us as teachers to save time and to be more effective at what we do. And there are numbers of tools that we can use as teachers to make our lives easier. And today we will actually show a few of those tools. And we will briefly outline what that is and how teachers can use it, because we are planning to have more sessions from our groups, from our SIG, on how to use different tools. That's why today, let's imagine that's kind of overview of tools that can make our lives as teachers easier. Okay. So, Habs, can I ask you to move on to the next slide?
Yes,
And there will be the
absolutely.
first tool that I wanted to mention. That is a TWE tool, which is basically a tool that was designed specifically for ESL teachers. AI is used here as a main foundation for the tool. If you have used ChatGPT, you will more or less understand how TWE works. Because in ChatGPT, before the chat gives you some response or generates the answer, you have to put in the request what you want. What they did in this tool, they actually embedded already all the requests. So you don't need to type the request. You just give the material that you want to use there. That's why, perhaps if you don't mind, I
Sure.
will
I
start
don't mind.
sharing your
Yes.
screen, okay?
Go ahead.
And I will show guys what TWE looks like and what they can do there. Just a second. Where is my TWE open? Here it is. Okay, perfect. We will not go with you through all of the function that there are, but I will just outline and show you how and what you can do on TWE. It is for free right now. That's why you can see that over here, TWE beta. So they are testing it for teachers, and you can register there for free and you can use it for free. And you can see that I have already done here my experiments with different projects with TWE. So let me show you what you can do over here. First of all, you can do different things with the video. So if it is a video from YouTube, you can first of all transcribe it from the video into the text, and then plan your work around the text. You can actually create the questions, comprehension questions for your students to discuss after watching the video. Or you can actually ask it to summarize the video that they have watched. You can use with text and different tasks based on text, such as actually create the text, create the questions, create true, false sentences, titles, whatever you need. What else? Our favorite classic, all-time classic tasks, such as fill in the gaps, match, create sentences for the vocabulary that you have there, and so on and so forth. We will open with you one of those, or maybe a few of those, just to see how it works. For example, if I want to create, I actually have tried all of them and I love all of them, but let's, as an example, try create list of sentences with your vocabulary, okay? Let's imagine that we have a topic. Habs, what topic would you like to have? Vacation.
Okay, a good one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, why not? It's summer, so vacation is a good topic. What vocabulary can we have based on that topic? Trip, right?
Yes.
Just a second. Trip, slippers, sand, ocean. What else can we have? Towel, if we go to swim in the ocean. Sun. Oh, forgot the comma. I'm sorry. You need to use the comma. So basically what I usually do, I don't type it there, but I already have the list of vocabulary that I copy and paste over here, and that's it. Then look over here. You can actually choose the level. There is, as far as it's only a beta version at the moment, there are not a lot of levels. You cannot choose exact B2, A1, C1, so you can choose either simple or advanced. Oh, I have clippers, not slippers. I'm sorry, guys. Just a second. I will choose. I will put slippers. And for this vocabulary, we'll choose with your simple level. So all you need to do is just click do the magic. And here are your sentences. It's all done for you. The interesting thing is that it suggests what you can do next, whether you want to create a fill in the gaps task or scramble the words or with matching halves. So you just click and I will actually do that. For example, if I want to scramble words, do the magic, and it will create scramble task. For us as language teachers, you can imagine how much time we used to spend on that. Writing the sentences, creating the task. And look, it took me how much? 1 minute to create a task.
Probably yes, yeah.
And yeah, I know it's, I love this tool because that was made with ESL teachers in mind. So basically they know, and I think the creators, they must be the ESL teachers because they know what we need. And
True.
it's really cool because you can see that all of the tools, they are divided into grammar, speaking, and so on and so forth. So you can choose what you need, play around, see how it works. But I'm sure you will have a lot of fun with that. That's why I highly recommend. It's one of my favorite AI tools. If you haven't used it yet, please be my guest. It is tweet.com, basically. Okay. Thank you. Habs, can you share the screen with the slides, please?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So that is the first tool that we were talking about. The next tool that we will mention, actually, it will be not one tool, but 3 of them that we put together under the title image generators. So quite often we need to search for images, and there is nothing bad with using Google. I still use Google search for some images, but you can create unique images with the help of AI image generators. First of all, let's look at the first 2 we have here, Night Cafe and Crayon. I will not share my screen and I will not show you how to use it, but it is very easy to use because basically there will be a field where you will need to type what you're looking for. As far as I'm already thinking about vacation and holidays that I'm not gonna have in the near future, but I'm thinking about it. So I tried to generate images for the word slippers. You can see the first 4 images on the top. Do I have here like technology thing? You see, I don't remember where to find
yeah.
No, I remember where to find annotate. Thank you. I forgot about annotating. Yes, I forgot about the function. So these 4 images, they were generated with the help of Night Cafe. You can see that images can be sometimes a bit weird and unusual, but well, why not as a critical thinking skill and developing our students' imagination. Though, if you use Crayon, you can see that these are more like realistic and real life slippers that it's generated for me. But again, you can play around, see what it works. Maybe the only piece of advice that I have for you, like, do not give up after the first try. You might need to include a few tries. The second problem that I noticed with different image generators, I'm sorry, not generations or generators, is that when you ask them to generate people, do you know what happens?
Yeah, they're deformed. Sorry.
Yeah, you actually get into the horror movie. So what happens over there? It's very difficult for AI to generate people and animals. By the way, I haven't tried animals, but I think animals as well. It just deforms it. Instead of 5 fingers, you'll have 6 fingers and 5 legs or something like that. There is even a video where they asked an AI generated to generate a video as an advertisement for Pilates studio. And I'm telling you, it's a horror movie. They were like people with 2 heads, 6 legs, and so on and so forth. That's why people maybe not yet. It's still learning how to do that. But even these are some objects like slippers, phones, computers, whatever it is, chairs, you can generate those. And then it's up to you how. Yep.
I'm thinking actually about it because the other day I was teaching a lesson about fashion, and there was a project where the students have to create their own like clothes or like the concept of something.
Nice.
So maybe I would ask them, would you wear such slippers? I mean, like they look weird, but would you wear them? Would they be like on a special show? You know, that would also work on the critical thinking very much. Yeah.
And what's more, you can ask them to sell those slippers. I mean, like they can work in pairs, having their own type of slippers, and they will try to sell and, you know, like make a statement, make a point that these are the slippers that you need. Perfect. Perhaps I love your idea. And then you mentioned that these are fashion students, or they were talking about the fashion. You can ask them to go to this app or to this website they create an outfit or maybe a t-shirt and put it there as a prompt and ask it to generate the image.
True.
So they
Yes,
will
very true.
basically generate it. And that is language learning as well. They are learning the vocab, and they see how it works and how they communicate with AI. Again, they will need to learn at one point to communicate with it. And it's also about the language. That's absolutely another topic that we can talk about for ages, about talking and communicating with AI, but let's keep it for later. Okay, the last one that I have here is Canva. I don't have here images from Canva because I wanted just to share it with you. Habs, do you use Canva?
Yes, I do. Yes, I usually use it for PowerPoints maybe, or banners sometimes, because like when the students have a project to work on, especially teens, for example, they kind of, as you mentioned, they create something and they sell it, or they auction it, or they go and show it to other companies and see who's gonna like win a competition. So with the banners, they put their objects on a certain like layout with the specific words. Also, it's important to kind of teach them like the language, where they are they gonna put full sentences there or just a few snippets or summary. So yeah, I used it for that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So I love this idea to ask your students to use it. And again, we as teachers can use it to create a lot of things. That's why, just a second, I will stop sharing your screen, but don't go far. I will ask you to share it again with
Absolutely, yeah.
Just a second. So there are just two things that I will show you on Canva. I'm sure that quite a few of you already use it and know about its functions, but I'm in love with Canva, to be honest, and I do a lot of things over there. So basically, you can see that here there are loads of things that you can create with the help of Canva. So the documents, whiteboard, presentations, infographics, graphs, book covers, mind maps. Yes, it's like, and I think like new options, they appear with time. That's why there are like loads of them. The good thing is that they have a lot of templates, so sometimes you don't even need to think about how to create it. You can just use the template. For example, this one with whales, love it. But you just edit the text and you add there the text that you need and that you want to use. You can put all of the projects that you work on in folders, so it will stay there in folders and you can get back to it at any time that you need. And also what you can do, I have already opened here a whiteboard that teachers can use, for example, and you can use it to generate images as well. That's why I put it together with image generators. For example, I put here when pigs fly. That's an idiom that we're learning with my students. And you can see here different ideas of images that you can use. Yes, there is one thing that if you see this crown, it means pro. It means that you need to use paid Canva, which is not that expensive, and if you like loyal to it, it will pay off. But don't worry, there are a lot of pictures which do not require any payment. For example, this one, and you can use this one. Here you go, and you can put it on your boards. You can make it smaller, and you can move on to the next vocabulary. You can do it on your own, or you can do it. Or you can ask your students create the whiteboard with images that fit vocabulary that you are learning right now with your students. Yes, you can share the board, so they can be more than one contributors. You have here share option, and then you'll just add their people collaboration link that will work with you on this board. So it can be you and another teacher, or it can be your class, or it can be different groups in your class. That is why I highly recommend Canva for different purposes. Even if you need to create a leaflet, or if you are a teacher, entrepreneur, and work on for yourself, basically, that's a great tool to create Instagram posts and everything else. That's why loads of possibilities. We'll not talk about all of them at this moment, but just for you to play around and see how it works. Okay, perhaps can you please share
actually, because, sure, but especially the pictures Tati, like deliver the message faster. So it will help the students a lot, even if they create it on their own. So yeah, images actually are quite effective when teaching students. So
Yeah.
from images to voice, of course, there are also voice generators because that's basically the language. And I love the collection that you have here. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, sure. Before I move on, have you ever tried voice generators? Have you ever tried to generate an audio with their AI?
Yes, I tried with ChatGPT actually.
Oh, it can generate audio. Ah,
Well,
I didn't know about that.
not audio per se, but I asked it to write the message that I want, and then I went to another tool. It's called it's not there, but it's pretty old actually. I mean, the website's closed now, unfortunately, but it was
No, that's okay.
yeah, it was really nice. It was very simple. I just typed the text there, and then it just generates the audio. I choose the sound that I want, whether it's a male or female, and I choose the accent as well, whether British, American, Australian, and even like
Nice.
any country basically. And then I download and save it to my PC. It worked well because when I wanted to give, for example, instructions for my students, like regular instructions during exams, and they're wearing headphones. So I recorded some for them in order to listen through headphones instead of me reading the instructions, and then they have the so not to distract them, and they are just focused on the exam all the time, and then and on the headphones all the time. So it was really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the ones that I think that is very similar to the one that you've used, where you can choose the voice, the accent, and so on and so forth. So we have here, like, these are like 3 of my favorites. 11 Labs, that's my top. Voice Maker and Natural Readers. I will just briefly show you how what these are and how to use them. And as a bonus, I will play a dialect for you that we created together with helps. We created with the help of AI voice generator. Just a second, let's start with the voice maker. Share with sound here. Okay, so that is what voice maker looks like. You can already see that I've got a text here that I wanted it to transform into voice, into sound. And what's cool in here, you can choose different voices. It can be male, it can be female. You can try different options. What I really like about it, it can be a child, because there are a lot of teachers who work with young learners. And for young learners, that like you will need audios with kids' voices, not only man and female. And it's very easy to use. You just put the text over here and you click convert to speech. All you need after this is download the MP3 MP3 audio, and that's it. Another one that I tried and that I like, that is Natural Readers. What I like about it, that it actually has personas. So you kind of imagine the person that will be reading. And what they put here, look, great for ebooks and stories, great for travel on the move, long PDFs and articles. So they have suggestions what this person will be good for. The same they have here for our little listeners, a child. You can choose the accent and the language. Yeah, so it can be UK, it can be US. They will have different personas over here. Easy listening, you can generate it as well. So once you have chosen, you go to the next. So I want to, for example, with Ryan, you can listen to Ryan talking before you
Good
choose
evening,
him.
I'll be your anchor for tonight's broadcast. We have a packed show for you, including new economic developments and an in-depth analysis of the latest international stories that you'll want to know.
Have you heard it?
Yes, it's perfect. Clear.
Oh, perfect. It is very clear. And for an AI generator, it's actually, you like when you know that it is AI, not a real person, you can kind of hear it. But when people don't know, I tried using it with my kids, with my students. and they didn't realize that it was AI generated. But it works the same way. You choose the persona, you put the text there, you click convert to MP3, and it converts everything. My internet is a little bit slow right now. That's why we will not wait for it to open the next page. But I will tell you about 11, and that is the app that I used to generate the whole dialogue. Again, it is basically the same way that we use it. You choose the settings, and you have here different options to choose from. It can be Ali, Domi, Bella, Arnold. So you are choosing what voice it can be. You can listen before you choose. Over here, you click.
Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance.
And it sounds like a real person, actually, to me.
That is, yes, it does sound like a real person.
So you basically choose here the person that you want it to be. You put the text here. The thing is, you cannot generate dialects at the moment. Maybe there is a tool, but I haven't found it yet. So what I had to do, I had to put here all the lines on one person and then all the lines of another person. So I generate and choose different here. Remember, I just chose different people for that. So what I did, I first generated all the lines of Bella, and then I generated all the lines of Domi. Then I had to cut the audio and just put it together. And it was basically a dialogue. I will actually play for you a part of the dialogue. We will not listen to the whole dialogue, but there's just a part of it. Just for you to have an idea of what it sounds like if you generate the dialogue with an AI. Perhaps I will start playing, just let me know if you can hear it. So if you can hear it, just nod and we'll keep on. If you don't hear, just shake.
Hey, Judy, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. What's up?
Listen, I seek your help. I'm attending Ukrainian Fashion Week in February, and I'm looking for appropriate attire for that. Do you fancy going shopping with me at the weekend? I won't take no for an answer.
Count me in. There are a few things I need to buy as well. I suggest we check out this.
Okay, we'll stop here. So Habs, what do you think?
That sounded natural, actually. I mean, like some pauses, yes, I would say that it's generated by AI, but it was really good. Even, I mean, with the intonation, for example, when moving between a person and the other, it was natural.
And that's
yes,
interesting that you mentioned intonation, because when I played it to my students, that's what they paid attention to. And when I told them that it was AI generated, they were like, oh, wow, they actually managed to get the intonation. Because later in the dialogue, what happens is that one of the ladies just like, wow, you look amazing in this dress. And actually there are emotions in the way she says that. So these dialogue are generated with the help of 11 apps. But again, it just takes a little bit more work because you will need to cut and put together, but it's not that hard to do. And there are a lot of tools that you can use for that. Then these were voice generators. Habs, can you share the screen? I think there is only one more left that we wanted to talk about. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Here it is. So again, when it comes to voice generator, I was just thinking also about video generators, because you can do the same with video generators, such as like there is a tool called Synthia.io, and it does the same thing, except that you can choose also a visual. So for example, if you want like a person to be talking to the students, that can happen, and perhaps they can use it for their projects as well. All right, so I might just write it down for people who are here. Synthia.io. That's the video generator, I would say. Okay, that's it. Okay, so one more thing, and the biggest thing actually that started the AI evolution, I would say, ChatGPT. And I would say that I had difficulty at the beginning to have access to ChatGPT because it's not really accessible from Egypt. Some people can still, if they have kind of like if they're able to use VPN or such. So I found alternatives that do work in Egypt. So one of them is Google Bard, and it's the equivalent of ChatGPT. I mean, you can do everything in the same way. You can group your chats. You can even change the title of each chat and get back to it. You can ask it to generate things for you. Like, for example, you would say, well, hi Bard, I'm teaching an A2 class, and it's a reading lesson. My objective is that they speak about so and so, and then you ask to generate an article, for example, of 100 words, 150 words about vacations again. So it will give you the text, and then maybe also you can either move it to tweet to get some questions, or you
Mm-hmm.
can also ask for ideas. Like, for example, would it be better if I use a true or false question here, or if I use something else? Maybe they will give you like a number of questions, like multiple choice questions, fill in the gaps, or like it will give you ideas. I mean, sometimes we just go blank when it comes to like, I want them to do so and so, but it's like it drains our mind. Is like to think about the number of activities, and like even the division of the class itself. I mean, it can create a whole lesson plan, and it can put it even in a table format. I mean, if it gives you the lesson plan in a paragraph format, you can ask, well, can you put that in a table and mention the student interaction pattern, the
Mm-hmm.
aims of each stage, the duration of each stage as well. I mean, it's kind of like magic. You create a whole lesson
It
plan in
is.
seconds. So it's really
And I
good.
do
And
agree with you that sometimes you're sitting and thinking about, like, okay, what should I do
yeah,
there? And it's very difficult for our brain, to store all of this information. So I see these tools as helpers to, like kind of brainstorm and recall what I know, because very often it can generate things that I already know, but it just helps me. Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot about this one. I can use this one. And sometimes it generates something new that you haven't tried, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Let's try this one.
true,
And
very true.
I think that we will have from our sake the whole session devoted to ChatGPT, Google Bard, and other tools and we will try with you there to generate the whole lesson with the help of the tool. And we will show you how you can use it to adjust it to what you need. So it's not, like some say robotic made or something like that, but basically it looks good. That's it.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And another tool also with like same as ChatGPT and Bard, it was created maybe at the same time of ChatGPT. It is u.com, and u.com is kind of more like a Google search, but it's powered like by AI.
Mm-hmm.
So it can give you ideas, it can write for you, but the most like distinguishing thing that I found about it is if you're writing a research paper, for example, if you for your development, if you're reading a research paper as well, it can summarize parts for you, and also it can like guide you to the actual research paper you're looking for. Sometimes you're like writing something, well, effective ways to teach writing, but you're not really kind of I would say not clear about which writing part. So it will give you ideas first, and then you say, yes, I want to teach the balanced opinion writing essay, and I want to teach it to
Mm.
two students, for example, or B1, and then it will give you better ideas and better articles to read, and better maybe even techniques to read. It
Yeah.
just betters the search experience, to be honest. So
Hmm.
it's really
And
really effective.
now when you're talking, I'm also thinking about, remember at the very beginning of the session, I mentioned that students can learn the language with the help of ChatGPT or any other, like tool, but teachers can learn and work on their continuous professional development in the same way. Because when we ask these tools for some ideas, that's basically again how we learn and how we learn new techniques and approaches and everything.
That's great. Yes, I totally agree. Yes. Okay, so
I
another
think
thing I
that's
wanted to
all.
say,
Sorry.
yeah, no, it's all right. Well, another thing I wanted to say actually about our SIG generally. Of course, today we just gave you some tools to use, and we would like you to experiment with them. Maybe tell us in the comments if you knew about them or if you know other tools, and if you like to use them also. And what would you expect from our SIG? I mean, what would the next webinars would be? Because we have lots of ideas, and we would love for them to be beneficial for you. If you just write everything in the comments, would be grateful, and we would love to help you with all the lovely ideas that we have.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Teti, also for sharing these ideas. I really
No
love
worries, no worries. Yeah, that I'm not sure we can see just a second, Habs. I will go to YouTube and see if there are any questions or comments on YouTube that
Sure,
we can
yeah.
answer to. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess we are the
I have it
hosts right
open, but
now,
not yet.
right, of the session.
Uh-huh,
I'm sorry, come again?
Yeah, I have the link open now, but no comments yet. Yeah, I would have
Oh, okay. Okay,
questions, but
let me
yeah,
see.
you can see there. No, yeah. All right. So I'll stop sharing the screen. We have another session coming up actually, and I think it's Bhavana, and she already joined here. Well, that's
Mhm.
great. Hello, hello, Bhavana.
Okay.
Oh,
I
she
don't
must
see a
have.
lot of
We
comments.
lost her.
Only good evening, good evening. No questions so
Okay.
far.
Yeah. Well, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, but we have no questions. So I think that will be it for now for us for today. I think we should let Mavna in because she might be doing the next session. I'm not sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear us, Bhavana?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's co-host. Okay, you're making her the host, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the co-host. Okay. Okay, the next session starts, I think, in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
I'm not sure, but I'm checking.
yeah. Supposedly on scheduled, yes, in 10 minutes. So,
Okay.
so I want to ask you something, Tati, before we go.
Okay, sure.
If you would like to have like a tool that would facilitate teaching and learning for you, what would it be?
Okay, so that's a good question. I think we do already have quite a lot for now
Yeah.
to deal with, but the only thing that I'm thinking about, ChatGPT might have this feature in the paid version, but I haven't used the paid version yet. But so at the moment, students can talk to ChatGPT via like typing, but I think the next step would be talking to it actually using the voice. I know that you can talk to Alexa.
Yeah.
And kind of communicate with Alexa via voice, but it's very limited. That's why I think that would be nice to have the next step. But I've seen that this voice AI is used right now in a lot of other spheres. I've watched one, I think it was some not EdTech, but just tech conference, and the guy was showing example how they implemented AI to their customer service. So what happens is that the person calls, and instead of a person on the other side, there is an AI answering and taking all the requests and helping this with problems. And they played the example of the audio, how this is happening. Of course, it's not perfect yet, but it can easily work. Yeah, there was a lady who was booking a table at the restaurant, but they asked her some, like she asked some tricky questions, but AI could manage and book a table for her. So that was really good. That's
really
interesting.
impressive.
That's why I'm saying that we need to learn we need to learn to communicate right now with AI so that we can use it to the fullest potential. That's it.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, I always wanted, like in the past, to kind of when I distribute something to my students, like on paper, to just with a click on my screen to,
Mhm.
like with a Harry Potter kind of
Yeah,
magic.
yeah.
I like that it's done now, like it's with Bluetooth or whatever you're sharing. I mean, with the Google Class, you can just
Hmm.
you already shared something and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, sure.
there. So yeah, that's created, but something new. I like the audio option that you mentioned.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that
That's
would be
great.
pretty cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much. So
Uh,
we're waiting
Habs,
for comments, of
thank you
course.
so much. Yes, I've
Yeah.
just checked. There are no comments yet
Mhm.
on YouTube. That's why I think we can go on a little break.
Sure.
If the next session starts at okay,
Nice.
7.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 7 in Ireland.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
well,
our
it's
morning,
it's
like
gonna be nice in
7.
Egypt. Yeah. Yeah.
I see, I see.
That's great. Well,
Yeah, so I think we can go on a little break and let everybody else just have a break, okay?
great.
Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Habs. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome back again with our EduCast Global Ed Connect conference. So today, or actually right now, I would say that we have another brilliant ELT professional, and her name is Bhavana Gupta. Hello, Bhavana.
Hi, Heba. My name is Bhavna.
No, sorry, Bhavna. I'm really
That's
sorry.
okay. That's okay. Perfectly fine.
Thank you. She's talking today about a really interesting topic. The session is about reading between and beyond the lines. That's really, really interesting. But before we know about the session, would you mind telling us more about you, please?
Sure. So, first of all, namaste from India. I'm from India, Mumbai. And after some confusions with the time zones, etc., finally I'm here. So happy to meet all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know where you're logging in from, but wherever you are, hello from me. So yeah, a little bit about me. I started my career as a teacher in teaching in schools, teaching English. Further, I took a long break when I had children, domestic commitments, and then I got back to my job. But once I got back into my job, soon I transitioned into a teacher training role. And that was really my entry into the ELT world. That's where I started learning and I started enjoying what I was doing in that field. Once I became a teacher trainer, soon I also did a lot of other roles. So right now I'm a teacher trainer. I'm also a teacher of English, teaching adults online, global adults. And along with that, I also do something which is a personal project for me. It's more like a personal passion project for me, which is more targeted towards young learners. So when I do my teacher training roles and my teacher roles, I'm mostly working with adults, but I miss working with young learners, which is why the project that I do personally is more targeted towards young learners. So that's a brief introduction about me.
That's great. That's great. You have great experience. Thank you so much for sharing, Bhavna. So what about the topic then?
Great. So what I'm going to talk about today is reading between and beyond the lines, which is in the context of reading stories. So basically, when I spoke about my passion project for young learners, it's a project where I use stories to teach language and life lessons. So when I always look for learners, especially for young learners, we need starting points to start the lesson where they get engaged, where they can really engage with the topic, be motivated enough to learn, and also be able to apply that in their real life. So what I really wanted to do is bring the real life into the classroom or the real world into the classroom and make those connections for them. So I started narrating stories. When I started narrating stories, I would first narrate stories face to face, in person, visiting schools, narrating these stories, and teaching language through those stories, and also a little about life. Because, like I said, real life was something which was mandatory. I think it's a mandatory for young learners to know about what's happening around them in the real world. So I started teaching them some talking about real world issues, talking about real life situations through the story. And soon it became a project. So I started with a very little in-person sessions, but then that soon evolved into an online storytelling project. So soon I went on to narrate these stories online. Once I did that, I also decided that I would like to set up my own YouTube channel where I could share these stories for people who could access them at any time, not depending on time zones and convenience. So I started my own YouTube channel where I now use picture books and stories, issues through those stories. I call these stories language and life lessons. through the language aspect of the stories, I try to teach them certain aspects of maybe grammar, pronunciation, or some aspects of language. However, for me, I think the aspect that's more important for me is the life lessons. And this is the part of the story where I try to deal with topics which are not usually spoken about with children. For example, topics like beauty bias, what is beauty, why is beauty important, talking about disability, talking about inclusive language, talking about topics like loss of a loved one, death. So these are topics which we normally avoid bringing up with children. But I do feel that these are somewhere important because they prepare children for real life. So I started curating these topics based on what I really wanted to talk about. So for me, it was more like a backward planning thing rather than starting with a story and then going on to bring up aspects in the story. I started with the real world angle. So it was more like first thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and then looking for a story which would age appropriately address that topic with young learners. Because since they are young learners, I do not want the stories to be very morbid or very serious. It has to have some kind of impact on them, but at the same time, it has to be some kind of a happy, not a happy ending exactly, but a happy learning. So then that's the angle that I start with. I choose these stories and then work backwards with them. First, selecting what language I can teach through the content of the story, and then looking for topics like life lessons. This basic framework is something which I had come up with when I was working with my trainees. I developed a framework called the 3S framework, which talks about the three skills of language. We speak about language, we speak about systems and the skills of language, which are generally addressed in an ELT lesson. However, I wanted to expand that. And so I introduced a third circle, which is called a society circle for me. I call it the society circle, which is what deals with these real world issues. So basically, when I narrate these stories, the idea is twofold. It's to teach them some language and some life. So if you look at my stories on my YouTube channel, there are some stories which talk about beauty, some stories which talk about children on a wheelchair. However, they're not stories which are tokenistic in nature in the sense that it's not there just for the sake of being there. It's a story dealing with a child on a wheelchair who's a happy child, not a hero, not a heroine, not anybody who is there to teach them that a person can deal with difficulties and still overcome those. It's just about a child dealing with their day-to-day situation. So basically, the idea is to bring out the similarities between a child in a wheelchair and any other child. So what is similar? There could be one thing that's different, but there are many other things which are similar. So that is something which is highlighted through the stories. So basically, this approach is talking about usualizing these topics, if I may use that word. The word usualizing, again, is a word which I learned relatively recently. It was introduced by somebody called Sue Sanders, an ELT person who is basically an LGBTQ activist. So she talks about usualization of a topic. I used that usualization, the term usualization, to apply it to my stories in the sense that I wanted these topics to be usualized with children. When I say usualized, it means that I want to expose children. I want to make children aware of these real world issues, but not by making a not by making a hue and cry, not by talking very explicitly about it, but just weaving it very subtly into the story so that it's not something which is in your face, but at the same time, they're looking at that and they start to feel that it's something which is just like us. There is no difference there. So that's the approach I took really when I spoke about these stories. Now it's developed into a very different kind of, as it evolves, as the project evolved, it's become a project which has evolved into a main story, which comes up on my YouTube channel. But along with that, there are a series of short videos that I make, which are more targeted towards parents or teachers, so that they can talk about the topics which are already addressed in the story in a more explicit fashion. So maybe they need to be aware of what they can do with their children or with their students to talk about those topics. So that series is connected, each series of life lessons, which has about 6 to 7 short videos, is connected to one main story, which is the context of those life lessons. So that's what I'm doing right now.
That's amazing. That's great, Bhavana. That's quite the effort, actually. I enjoy all the steps that you went through, and also to teach these young learners how to get this like inexplicitly. That's quite the message you have there, and such a great effort from you. So, what would you expect the teachers to do? I mean, when they teach such things, how they would teach that?
So basically, with every lesson that I create, I also put up a worksheet on my website, which is a supplementary free downloadable worksheet, which has questions which talk about language and life, of course, like I said. So those are worksheets which can be used by parents, and they're very self-explanatory worksheets, not something that you would not be able to deal with. Something like a crossword puzzle from the taking up words from the story, or some aspect of pronunciation which has been covered in the story, and I now deal with it a little further. So that's one aspect that comes into the story. And again, the language, the life aspect of it. Again, in the story, I have these 3 parts which I divide the story into. I start with a part of the story which I called Think to Learn. So just like in an ELT lesson, we start a lesson with before watching or before reading questions to make them start thinking about the topic, to set the context for them, to act as a lead-in. Similarly, before every story, I give them some questions to think about before I start narrating the story. So those questions could be on the lines of the topic that I'm going to address, or sometimes they're only on the probably just on the lines of the pictures that they're going to see. So what do you see in the picture? How do you know where the character is from? What sort of clothes are they wearing? Where do you think they are from? So for example, in one of the stories, there was a child, so it's a South African story, where the mother is wearing a scarf. So there within the story, I bring out a topic where that's called a headscarf. So then I ask them within the story, I ask questions to children about what kind of headscarf do you see around you? Do people around you wear a headscarf? Is it the men who wear it? Is it the women who wear it? Or is it both genders? Are they different in any way? So in that manner, I try to bring about some kind of awareness of the culture around them and the culture that may not be around them, but exists in the world. So bringing them closer to other cultures as well. So those are things that I bring up. Again, when I have the questions, I try to make the stories interactive so that the students or the children who are listening to the stories keep thinking about it. So that's one way I start making them think about the topic. Towards the end of the story, after the end of the story, in between, of course, like I said, there are a lot of questions to make them think. I give them reminders to stop the story in between if they have to think about these questions. What's happening now? Stop the story, pause the video here, watch it, then start the story, so that they have those things in mind, that they can stop the story at any time and then continue watching it. Towards the end of the story, after the narration, again, I have a little section of the story or of the video, which I called Read to Remember. Here is where I put the gist of the story. So the topic that I want to talk about is what comes in here. So how you can talk about how you can use inclusive language, how you can talk about that topic, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So those kind of tips are given in that section, which I call Read to Remember. And the story ends with a section called Pause to Ponder. So there again, I leave them with questions that make them think about the story and about how the story applies or connects with the real world around them. So I try to make them make these connections. So if there's, for example, again, in a story where the boy was in the wheelchair, the final questions were for them to go out into the world around them and look for places where they see ramps and places which are accessible because of the ramp, and where there are no ramps and maybe there could be ramps. So that's something that I make them think about. Can a place be made more accessible just by creating a ramp? So that's how I make that connection to their real life. And that's what I call Pause to Ponder. Again, if there's there's a little story in my on my YouTube channel, which is called Beauty is Missing, which is a beautiful story about someone called Beauty. And if you watch that story, you will be surprised at the end to know who Beauty is, how so when I start the story, I start asking them about who do you think Beauty is? And they come up with their own answers. Maybe she's a beautiful woman, she's a princess, she's a model and an actor, something like that. Then at the end, the suspense is revealed where Beauty is not what they expect. So if somebody is watching that, I don't want to give away the suspense. So I'm not going to tell you who Beauty is, but it's worth a watch to find out who Beauty is. And then I use that particular aspect to show them why beauty is not connected with looks. There is no connection between these two. Any beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, as they say. So those are things that I deal with in that fashion.
That's amazing. And I kind of have an idea about what beauty is, but I'm not gonna say it also. So for the sake of people watching. So do you have any advice actually? Because I heard you say that the parents also can use these materials, and that's quite helpful because, for example, if students are overwhelmed with like stuff from school or the curriculum or something, the parents at home can still encourage their children to learn the language through your stories and even learn some more lessons. So do you have any advice, maybe, whether for the teachers, parents, or the children?
I think one advice would be, so just going back to what you said right now, that the worksheets are something that parents can use. That's one intention. So the intention for me to create the worksheets was to keep them very simple, because I didn't want the worksheets to be something that just ELT professionals can work with. It has to be something that any adult should be able to look at the worksheet and say, okay, my child will enjoy doing this. Let me try it with my child. So even the language exercises are not something which are very fancy exercises. They're simple exercises and just one little aspect which is covered so that it's not very overwhelming, like you say. And my advice for them would be, yes, I would say a lot of us as humans have become what we are today after listening to stories, probably from our elders, from our teachers, and we've learned a lot from them. I think even our first language, we learned them probably through stories. There's a high possibility that we learned our first language maybe through our grandparents or through our teachers who narrated stories to us. So that's what I would say. Stories are a great way if you're able to exploit them. However, considering this current scenario, sometimes I do understand that parents, especially today, if they are working parents, may not have the time to go back to the tradition of storytelling. And here's where I want my channel to fill that gap for them, so that they can they can ask their children to listen to these stories without them being there. It would be great if the parents could be there, but if that's not possible, it's something that I want them to understand. The child can sit, watch, and that's why I bring in these questions in between the stories, so that it makes it interactive. It makes them think. It's not a passive process where they just watch the story and go away with it. And then post that, I want the parents or the teachers, whoever's dealing with the worksheet or the story, it would be a good way to take that topic into extension of the story, which ideally I would look as something which teachers and parents can use.
That's lovely. That yeah, I really, really appreciate your effort doing that, and that's quite the project, I would say. Thank you. Thank you so much for your
It
effort.
is. It's quite a time-consuming process, but it's something that I'm enjoying a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'm gonna give the mic to Muhammad. He's
Sure.
here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Heba.
You're most welcome.
Hi, Mohammed. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm here. I'm back
Hi.
again, and I'm here. So, so
Hello.
nice to see you again, and really sorry for your loss. And I'm really glad that you made it. And of course, I really would like to thank both of you for sharing your insights today with our audience. So I think it's the best start ever for EDCAS International Association Special Interest Groups. So I'm really looking forward to working with you. You know, more maybe on hosting professional development webinars, providing teachers with trainings, and so on. So there are a lot of surprises for fellow teachers in Egypt and outside Egypt in every single part of the world. So thanks a lot, Bahabna, for talking about storytelling. Actually, I talked about it today. When it comes to teaching young learners, yeah, a little bit. I was trying to answer some questions, provided some ideas, but you know, you're the expert in that, and of course, we're expecting a course about that later, right? Perhaps, who knows? Yeah. Okay, great. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us in today's event. That's the end of today. And we're really looking forward to seeing all of you again in our future events. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.